Hi, everyone. This is Live with Leah, and I'm here with Bo. And we're going to talk a little bit about parental alienation and what's going on with social media and how that's affecting the outcome of court cases and that type of thing. So our family court system hasn't really changed a whole lot. However, with social media, is it making a difference in the family court system? So what do you think, Bo?
Well, social media is taking a lot of beating
Sure
with our
is.
court system. Now, what's going on is there's a lot of fathers that are out there exposing the truth. Now, some fathers talk about their situation without bringing the names of their children, without bringing the names of their exes.
Mhm.
And some fathers are a little bit more bold and they're actually putting a name to the faces. Some do
Mhm.
throw in their children or show their children.
Mhm.
Some will actually name their ex. Now, it's just that fathers are getting tired of having to be the bigger person, to be the bigger man.
Mhm.
Because while in court, the other party brings up saying that, oh, this father's on social media talking about it. Or even myself, I was told, uh, the other party told the judge that I'm on a podcast exposing everything, discussing details of my court case. Well, you know what? They can go watch all the podcasts that I've been on and they
Mhm.
can see what I've been exposing.
Right.
I don't believe I've ever said the name of my children. And if I did, I'm allowed to talk about my children because I'm proud of them, because they're well behaved, because of the things we do. That is my right as a father to be able to discuss with about my children. Now, I've never really done that. If I have, it's never been to say anything negative about my children.
Right.
And, I've never brought up my ex's name because why do I want to give her the publicity? Now, the judge did say, and the judge that I had, I obviously I'm not going to name the judge, but the judge that I had that's told me this twice is a very good judge. I believe that's one of the good judges that actually will look at evidence properly, that will make proper decision making. So when the judge was talking to me, I wasn't taking it um, offensively or the wrong way, but I did let the judge know that it's not my fault if me talking about a certain situation or talking about parental alienation bothers my ex. Maybe she should look at not doing that. Maybe she should look at co parenting
Mhm.
instead of just saying, I'm going to go by the judge's order, by what the judge has said. It's shameful that parents have to go to court to say how to be a good parent, how to actually co parent with one another.
Right.
So I know I'm getting a little off topic, but yeah, um, social media is a big factor because when you are on your own Facebook and your child achieves something,
Mhm.
do you not put their face up with their award saying, my daughter did this, my son did this, I'm so
Right.
proud? So you're
Right.
allowed to do that.
Mhm.
But because we're doing it on a social group and just discussing the issues we're running into, they want to try and frown upon that. Now, these lawyers are trying to bring up these issues to take the attention away from what is actually at hand, which is the best interest of the children. Can you try one more time to send Wayne that link, please?
Oh, yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but that's the thing, and other fathers now in the different fathers groups that we're at, a
Mhm.
lot of guys are, or even women that are in the group,
Mhm.
frown upon seeing stories from other people. Well, it's just like anything else. If you don't like something and it's not affecting you negatively, what does it matter what that father is doing with their own life? You know
Mhm.
what? You don't like their post? Scroll on. You don't have to make any comments. You don't have to worry about what they're trying to do. If that's going to hurt their court case, then that's on them. Who are
Right.
you to try and tell them, oh, you shouldn't be talking about your case, you shouldn't be talking about your kids or your ex? Well, you know what? The alienators need to be blasted on social media to
Absolutely.
show what they're doing, because what they're doing is not in the best interest of their children.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you think that because this is something that's come up quite a bit in not just parental alienation court cases, that type of thing, also with what's going on with the pandemic and protesting and that type of thing, what's being posted on social media is really becoming an issue with a lot of people. They're really not satisfied with what's going on. They're not satisfied with how people are presenting their opinions, and they're really starting to get irritated. Do you think that Bill C-10, I believe it is, which is the one that our prime minister wants to, in fact, censor what's being posted on the internet? Um, do you think this is going to become an even bigger issue, or do you think this is going to help at this point?
I don't. I mean, that C10 is about restricting, right?
Yes,
Restricting what you
it's
can
about
post.
censorship.
Right.
Censorship. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that definitely is going to hurt us, and I can understand where, if let's say you and I are at quarrels with each other,
Mhm.
if I go on social media and blast your name and talk down about you, I can understand that. That is something that I should not be doing. But if I'm just putting up factual evidence of something that you did, you punched the guy out and I have factual evidence and I post that, why
Yeah.
is that wrong?
It's not wrong because that's what most journalists do, right?
Exactly. But if
Yeah.
I'm making up lies that you went and gunned down a school, well, then obviously that's not right. That shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So if it can be proven and it's facts, then why should we be restricted? And this bill is not going to help, and it's going to frustrate people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to put a lot of people's lives at risk, because here in Canada we're pretty cool and calm, but in the States,
Mm-hmm.
they have different laws, different rules for guns and all that. If
Right.
that went across to the US side, first of all, they would never put up with this. If something like this went to their Congress, they would not put up with it. They would be there, um, walking around, protesting, showing that it's unacceptable. But here in
Mm-hmm.
Canada, I don't get what it is. You know what? I'm not saying go against the government, but you know what? When the government's coming up with these bills,
Mm-hmm.
or information that is going to restrict you from living a proper life, then yeah,
Yeah.
we should stand up against it. But I don't know why we don't. We just take everything that the government says, and that's it.
Yeah, a lot of people
Yeah.
take that stance where it's, oh well, this is how it is, and it's for everyone's safety. A lot. That's the biggest one that's coming out right now, right? It's for safety. It's for your own safety. I never. I guess for myself, I really don't know when the government thought that they had to make sure I was safe. Is the government gonna
Mhm.
like put me in a little bubble and make sure that I don't like they're there to protect me, and I'm such this great commodity that that I need their protection because I'm
Mhm.
incapable of making that decision for myself, you know? And it's very interesting that you say, somebody posts something that you don't like. Well, just keep scrolling. And that's exactly it. Why do you follow somebody or, watch their Facebook at all
Yes.
if they're posting stuff that you don't like? Just leave. It's, free speech, freedom of speech is free for everyone. And regardless of whether you like what they say or not, it doesn't matter. Freedom of speech is for everyone. Period.
Well, but see, that's the thing, and we all get things mixed up.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, I believe in Canada we don't have what's called freedom necessarily speech. We have freedom of expression,
Yes.
which not a big deal. What does it matter if it's freedom of expression or freedom of speech? I'm expressing myself and all, in what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not slandering you,
Mm-hmm.
then either you like what I'm saying and you follow me, or you don't like what I'm saying and you just move on. You don't have to
Yeah.
stand there and argue with me and say, no, you're wrong in what you're saying, but I'm right. And honestly, who is the government to try and tell us how to be as a person, as a human being?
Right.
Aren't they there to set up policies and procedures for what life is in Canada
Yeah,
so that we
exactly.
can have a better life? Not to tell me what time I can eat, what time
Right.
I can drink, what time I
Mhm.
can go to the bathroom. That is not what I signed up for. This is not the
Right.
Canada that I know and I want. And just recently, a report came out on the 27th
Okay.
that, and this is off topic for fathers' rights, but 215 children, their bodies were discovered in Kamloops in British Columbia at a
What?
residential school. 215
Oh my
bodies
God.
of children. This is the Canada that we're talking about
Oh
that
my
allowed
God.
that.
Were they indigenous?
They were indigenous. It was on a residential school. It was on the location of a residential school.
Oh my goodness. That's terrible.
So this is what we're talking about. And I'm not trying to dog Canada, but you know what? I wouldn't be proud to be Canadian
No.
when this is what they were doing, taking children from people's homes, putting them in residential schools, and then the parents wondering, well, they came to school. Where are
Mhm.
they?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They must have ran away. Something must have happened. No, they killed those children. They buried them on the
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
And now they're saying we don't know what happened. And what
Yeah.
about the Queen of England? If we're ruled by the Queen herself,
Mhm. Mhm.
what's going on? She's been around all these years that we've had these residential schools. And has she ever stepped in to do anything about it? I don't think so.
Yeah, you know, there is some controversy surrounding what happened with the royal family. So apparently, they did take something like, I thought it was five or some sort of number. I think it's five. I know it was under 10 at least.
Mhm.
Indigenous children for lunch, and apparently they disappeared. So that's
Right.
still a controversy. Residential schools is something that has definitely been around for a while.
Mhm.
There's a lot right now with regards to PTSD,
Yes.
that Indigenous people are enduring because of that time period. And it's
Mhm.
unfortunate that that's happening, and it's unfortunate that that is, that is what happened.
Mhm.
And I just don't think, and this is just a quick personal note for me, but I just think that we're not equipped to handle their mental suffering, and I'm not too sure that they anticipated having the mental health aspect of that, because they probably didn't really feel it. It obviously didn't go according to plan, I guess, is what
Right.
I'm trying to say, right? Um
But you see that that is just like what's happening right now.
yeah,
Back in the day, you know
absolutely.
what? We came onto land, or the white people came onto the land that was owned by the indigenous, or they've been there,
Hmm.
and we were trying to say your way of life is not good.
Right.
You need to do what we do.
Right.
That should have
Yes,
never happened. We shouldn't have
absolutely.
forced them
No.
to be what we are. We should have accepted what they are,
Hmm.
learn about it, and if
Hmm.
they wanted to learn how the white people do the work and how they do things differently, then sure, teach them, but not force them, not take them to schools and say you're going to be raised like a white child.
Yes. Yeah. And from what I understand, there were consequences if you didn't send your child to school,
Yes.
that type of thing. And we're getting a little bit off topic, but what do you think as a parent? Because we are talking about parental alienation. What do you
Yeah.
think about the idea that children 12 and over can consent to the vaccine themselves, and they can make that decision for themselves? They don't need parental consent. My I'm a little, this makes me nervous, because I do believe that children are going to be subject to, if they don't want to do it, they're going to be subject to bullying and coercion by teachers and staff. What do you think?
Well, I don't think these kids should be getting the vaccine, to be honest. If these kids are able to survive it because their immune system is strong enough, and
Hmm.
if they're not being affected, they shouldn't be getting it. They shouldn't be forced. And I understand that they're young, that they really can't make a proper decision.
Hmm.
But the whole point is these parents should be stepping up and say, I'm an adult. I know that I'm poisoning my body, that I choose to put that in there, but I don't see the point. If you can fight off the virus without the vaccine,
Hmm.
then what's the big deal? And even with the vaccine, they say you still can get the virus. So then I still don't understand then what's the point? If you can get it no matter if you're vaccinated or not, then why even get the vaccine then? Because there's chemicals in there that could go against what your body should have inside it. It will be a negative side effect to you.
Hmm.
So why intentionally do that?
But what about the fact that children, age 12, as a dad, would you want to see children be exposed to this? They're going to get coerced and bullied. They were actually offered ice cream in Toronto. If you get the vaccine, you can have ice cream.
That's
Is that not
terrible.
is that not a tactic that a while ago that somebody who was intentionally looking to hurt children, they,
Hmm.
they used that type of coercion. That's vintage coercion right there.
Yeah,
um
well, I mean, they're manipulating the children. You know,
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
saying, oh, we'll give you this. Well, the same thing happens when someone wants to steal a child. Oh, I'll give you candy. I'll give you this, or can you help me find my puppy? That's
Yeah,
the same thing. Why would you want your kids to be exposed to that?
yeah,
And that's terrible to do that to a child and promise them this or that when
yeah.
they have no concept of what they're actually getting involved into.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
so children who are as young as 12 can't, and there's a difference in the family court system. So a child at the age of 12, at least here in Ontario that I'm aware of, are able to make some decisions for themselves with regards to where they want to live. That's not always considered by the courts, but they do sometimes, most of the time. 12 years old is the kind of the age that they say, yep, they can make the decision, and that's great. Whereas they can't vote, they can't drive, they can't. I mean, kids barely are taught anything by the age of 12. What the virus is, what it's going to
Mhm.
do. They have not yet taken a biology class, for crying out
Right,
loud, but we want them to make a decision on a vaccine that could potentially harm them.
right. Now,
um,
what you're mentioning is true. You know what? There's several factors involved, and when you're talking about 12-year-olds making certain decisions,
mhm,
you know, it's different making a decision of getting a vaccine or choosing which parent to live with.
mhm,
They've lived with these parents and they've seen what's going on. And when a child makes a decision, parents should be big enough to say, I understand what you're saying. I understand your feelings. And
mhm.
if that other parent is not a threat, then it's not a big deal to respect the child's wishes. You
Right.
know, as kids get older, we wonder where the time's gone. We get upset that they're growing up, we're missing those baby phases, or we're missing because there was such sweet times.
Mhm.
So that hurts us. So the
Yeah.
same thing will hurt us as well when a child says, I want to go live with one parent.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that way. If the two parents can be big enough to say, you know what, I understand, but we both love you. And how about we just try 1 week on with mom, then 1 week on with dad? And this way, everything is fair.
Mhm.
And this way, the child will see that it is a better life. But if the child is being abused in one family, on one side, then obviously that child doesn't want to be in that abusive home.
Right.
Now, you have to understand sometimes children will make up stories because their feelings got hurt.
Mhm.
And that's as adults, we need to see that.
Right.
So when judges are listening to children, yes, a child can decide where they would like to go,
Mhm.
but the courts don't necessarily have to listen to that.
Right.
They
They
can
don't.
make a decision, but hopefully they're making the decision on the proper facts that they've received, not their own biased judgment.
Right.
We are human and judges are human. I can't really put them down.
Right.
They will make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
They will sometimes go off of their feelings, and which, as a judge, you're not supposed to have feelings when it comes to, as soon as you step in that court, you don't have any feelings. You're not supposed to pick sides.
Right.
You're supposed to be able to read the language of the people, their body language, how they are, what's going on, with the evidence that's provided. You
Yes.
should be recognizing that and making a proper decision on that. And that's where there's a fine line between judges being good judges that can see past that,
Right.
and there's judges that, sorry to say, that are corrupt in the sense where they will play favoritism. Depending on which lawyer they favor,
Mm-hmm.
then they will decide to back that lawyer up.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so how has social media, do we think, affected the way that the court system has finally gone or is going? Like, should they accept, let's say, a post on a social media as evidence against the other parent?
Well, that's a very good question. It all depends on what has happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I would think is, when someone is upset or angry, everyone deals with their anger differently.
Yes.
Now, these social media sites, usually when someone is angry or pissed off, they come on these sites just to vent and
Mm-hmm.
just to get it off their chest, because some people don't have any friends that will actually sit and listen to them.
Right.
And it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to sit there and listen to someone discuss about their feelings, because if you're not on board with what they're saying, you're thinking they're whining, they're complaining, they're just being a baby. And especially if they're a man,
Mm-hmm.
the whole persona is that men are not supposed to have feelings. They're not supposed to, uh, do these things. You're a man, suck it up and just keep going. Well, we have feelings too. We need to vent.
Right.
So if someone comes on social media, and it's happened before, where they've discussed about their situation and they've discussed how low they're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't necessarily pointed out that they want to commit suicide, but because they seem like they're going to quit on life, people have contacted police to do a wellness check, and has actually ruined things for them because they were just out to vent, but someone called the police reach out to their ex, and their ex now has more information to say, see how this father is unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was this father unstable when you were making that child together? Was
Right.
that
Exactly.
father unstable when you were both raising the children and the
Mm-hmm.
father was taking the kids out, spending his hard earned money on the family?
Mm-hmm.
Was he a threat then? Or is he a threat now that, without any evidence or proof, that one side is able to keep the child from the other and make their life a living hell? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of fathers have gone through financial hardships
Yes.
to provide for the children. And sometimes
Yes.
it doesn't even reach the children. The children don't get the money that these fathers are sending.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting frustrated.
Of
Why am
course.
I working so hard, breaking my back, giving child support,
Right.
that when they are in my possession, I can't do anything about, but then when they're with their mother's possession, she has the money to do everything she wants, but it's not being spent on children.
Right.
So these fathers are getting frustrated, upset. So they need a place to expose their anger and frustrations, and just to get support from other people saying, dude, I know, I've been there.
Yeah.
It
This is
sucks.
how you get through it or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need that support. So certain evidence, honestly, they want to submit it. But please take a look at what it took for that father to get to that point. Don't
Right.
just say that, look, he's violent now. Look what it took to get that person to be violent. And then when they finally do react,
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, oh, see, I told you he's violent. That's not right. So
Yeah.
social media is a good way of, yes, getting some information,
Mm-hmm.
and others do that, through uh, messages that they've gone through social media. Like, they've messaged their exes at a certain time. They were discussing things. Everything was good. They're co-parenting. And
Right.
then when court starts, oh, now that father's no good. But the father has all these evidence from previous messages that shows that he's been involved. He's been buying diapers. He's been buying formula. He's been buying
Right.
clothes. He's been
Hmm.
taking the kids to the doctors. So
Right.
those information, yes, they should be using that. And it should be very valid because you can't go 10 years back and put that information into social media just to make up a story to throw in front of the judge.
Right.
Everything is timestamped. And when it happened 4 or 5 years ago, how do you know that in 4 or 5 years you're going to be in this state? So,
Right.
absolutely, social media
Mhm.
evidence is good to use, but you have to understand the situation of how they got to that point.
Right. Yeah. Social media can be a help and it can be a hindrance. Like you said, sometimes people, especially right now when you're not supposed to gather, you're not supposed to, and sometimes just online is the it's honestly the way that things are going right now. You have to be online to do anything. Working is online right now. All those things are online. Um, and social media is kind of the catalyst that's sort of driving all of this right now. So, unfortunately, where do you go really if you can't meet with somebody? You can't meet with a counselor. Let's be honest, the mental health services that are going on right now are overwhelmed. They have
Yes,
lists mile long. Peer
absolutely.
groups are running, but
Mhm.
sometimes you have to find a peer group that works for you. Not everyone is comfortable in a peer-to-peer type setting when they prefer a one-on-one setting. So,
Exactly.
especially a man, that's difficult for them. They don't
Yes.
want to go with a bunch of women and be like, oh, this is my problem. It's very difficult for them.
Mhm.
So, with the pandemic, do you think that more men are being alienated right now with the pandemic because women are using it as an excuse to keep kids away?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's come out that it's been tried where, oh, because of the pandemic, I can't send them to you. Or someone was in contact and I can't send them. Or I'm afraid you're going to be in contact with somebody and my kids are going to be affected by it. No, 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 no. That doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
You can't do that. And that's not an excuse. But yes, because of that, it has happened.
Mhm.
And previously to what you had said about PTSD, it's just like this. If someone is raped,
Mhm.
do you allow them, or are they supposed to go and sit in the same room that the person that raped them to discuss their issues? No, you don't want them to discuss their issues with the rapist right there.
That's right.
That's a lot of stress for them. And it's the same
Absolutely.
thing for men and women. If a dad is being has been wronged by his ex, that's a woman. Well, does he want to sit in with another woman to say, oh, I understand what you're saying, but maybe you should try this? No, we men work differently. Our
Mhm.
brains work differently, and sometimes we need to act like idiots. Sometimes we need to say stupid things just to hear ourselves and say, wow, you know what? Yeah, that does sound really dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
We need to be able to have that to be able to reflect on what we're saying. We can't all think nicely and properly. And,
Right.
I've seen different men. I've seen men that are so angry that they can't control their feelings and they get so emotional that they just blurt out whatever they want.
Right.
And if you can't handle that, which is okay, then don't get involved. Move on. Let that father vent. Let that father get the help from other people, other stronger men that have gone through it that can give advice. And sometimes men just don't want to hear any advice. They just want to vent. They just want to get it out
Yeah.
so that it's out of their system.
Yeah. Not everybody is looking for that. Okay, this is what you should do, or this is we're going to solve the problem. No, a lot of times it's
Yeah,
just I'm frustrated, I'm mad, and I want to
yeah,
talk about it. You know.
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I tell people this all the time that everyone has different issues.
Hmm.
Now, if you can't handle someone talking about their experience because it's so negative, it's okay. You don't have to save everybody. You don't have to help everybody.
Right.
Don't pretend that you can be an ear and listen to people and
Mm-hmm.
then turn around and say, "Oh man, you're just whining. You're just complaining. Why don't you
Yeah.
just shut up and, toughen up, be a man."
Yeah.
That's not it. If you can't sit there and just listen to someone, then move on. Don't pretend that you can. I see so many people posting on social media saying, "I would rather sit here and listen to you to to you talk, or I forgot what it was, or rather than read your obituary, or be at your funeral." You know what? Not a lot of people are strong enough for that, and that's okay. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be. And I really dislike how everyone does copy and paste of all these messages. Copy
Mm-hmm.
and paste is easy. You know what? It's easy to do.
Very. Yeah.
But to actually be there and type something up saying personal yourself, that's more strength. That shows that you actually do care, and that your intentions are honorable, that you actually want to sit and listen to someone. Because it is whining. When I'm talking to certain people, I can understand that it's whining. But
Sure.
sometimes you just need to get it out of your system so you can hear yourself and collect yourself, and then keep on fighting,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And mental health is more and more important right now, especially with what's going on. I don't know about you. I've really found that Sault Ste. Marie has gotten more and more violent. We're hearing all the time about deaths, shootings. What was today? A body was found in a dumpster that was set on fire. Like
Yes.
this kind of really makes me concerned about the state of Sault Ste. Marie. Obviously, Sault Ste. Marie, this very little crime that I have ever heard of in my entire life. But now all of a sudden, people are locked down. They're stressed. They're angry. And mental health needs are on the rise, as well as obviously domestic abuse. Um, and it's not just like partner on partner. It's moms on kids, dads on kids, kids on kids. Like it's just this is I don't know. What do you think? Like this has gone far enough, I think.
Well, it is unfortunate. And being such a small town,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't think this stuff would happen as often as it is. And being in bigger cities, this stuff is happening on a daily basis. So for our
Yeah.
little small town, it's really concerning that we can see this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, within this past week to 2 weeks, there's been murders, there's been hit and run,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's been so many different crimes that have happened.
Right.
And people are getting frustrated with the fact that because of this pandemic, there's very little that can be done. And I see people attacking the police, and honestly, I don't think we should be attacking the police, because they're not the ones that are setting up any policies. They're not the
Right.
ones coming up with any of the laws. They're just trying to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this past couple of weeks, I think the police have done a damn good job of keeping things going smoothly. They've
Mm-hmm.
responded to so many crimes out there, and they're putting their lives on the line every single day,
Mm-hmm.
protecting people. Now,
Right.
because of this pandemic, you're right, the mental health has shot through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's ridiculous how much it
Mm-hmm.
is. And this is why we need to stand up and say, look, we don't want these lockdowns to happen. We
Right.
want to have our freedom. Our
Mm-hmm.
children deserve to have that freedom. And
Absolutely.
for them to want to spend money on doing frivolous things and not actually work on the mental health, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's wrong. You know what? We need to focus on helping people
Right.
and having a support for them.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
we don't have that in this town, unfortunately.
Well, and it's happening more and more to youth, unfortunately. I believe it was
Yeah.
in Colorado, if I can remember correctly. There was a place anyway that has actually outcried. They're looking for they've declared a state of emergency, not because of the pandemic, but because of the mental health issues that the youth are facing today. There was a 13-year-old, and if you didn't hear about this, I'll be shocked, but there was a 13-year-old that hung themselves in Sault Ste. Marie.
How long ago was this? I
About
thought,
2 weeks ago.
oh wow. I
13 years
honestly,
old.
wow, that is terrible.
That's sad. That is so sad that this child. Now, I don't know
Mhm.
what their situation was, whether, parents were together or whatnot. I really don't know. But
Right.
what drove a 13-year-old to kill themselves? It just, obviously they weren't getting the help that they needed. Obviously there was something lacking, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what
Mhm.
what would cause someone so young to have that much pressures on their shoulders to want to think the only way out is through death?
Yeah.
I'm sure if they had the proper venue to discuss what's going on with them,
Mhm.
that child would still be around.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to focus. You know what? The mental health is one of the biggest things. And if we don't focus on that, then we're just going to lose people left, right, and center. And how is that right?
It's not. It 100% is not right. 100%. And it's so disappointing. It really is. It's so disappointing that,
Mhm.
um, you know, it has to be this way. Well, I just wanted to one more thing with regards to the vaccine and all of this stuff that's happening. I don't want to forget that co-parenting is a really good idea, especially right now, because kids do need both their parents.
Absolutely.
They need both of their parents right now. Um, I do know some couples that co-parent very well, and I have to say I applaud them very, 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 very muchly, because it's hard to be a parent separate right now in this city. Um, you know, I don't know what to. I'm trying to find the right words. um, I think especially right now, whether I guess my question to you would be, when there's so your children are not always with you, right?
Correct.
Do you think it's important, even though they're with mom for her time
Mhm.
to visit with the children, is it not important that you're present and available for discussion, for if your children need you? I
Oh,
guess is.
absolutely. Absolutely. When it doesn't matter that you're not with your children 24/7, you're still a parent,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
regardless if your children are with you or not. And if people are properly co parenting, then they can contact each other at any time and discuss their children and
Mm-hmm.
come up with a plan or solution. And if the children need to call or discuss anything with either parent, that they should be able to absolutely call without even having to ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
If the children are with me, they don't need permission to contact their mother. And if they're with their mother, they shouldn't need any permission to contact me. But unfortunately, because people's feelings get hurt that, oh, well, why do you want to contact the other person? I'm right here. Then the children suffers in this because they don't allow them to contact the other parent.
Right.
And co-parenting is so key to the well-being of of a child, but a lot of parents don't see that. They
Yeah.
they don't they don't
Absolutely.
see that it's about their children and not their own hurt feelings. Again, when your relationship ends, doesn't mean your relationship with your child ends.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Yeah.
oh yes.
Well, it's unfortunate we weren't able to get anybody else to join us tonight, but we're going to try again in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Also, I'm hoping to have an activist, Chris Cole, join us. I hope he can at some point. I'm looking to have a couple of other ladies as well that I know to join us, as well as some people. Obviously,
Oh, yes.
we're getting into summertime and it's starting to get very busy for a lot of people. Lockdowns are happening, and
Yes.
everybody's getting very frustrated. So we're certainly going to be here to talk about the issues. And whenever you're ready, we're going to hopefully make this a monthly thing to talk about parental alienation and what's going on with family courts as a whole, because I think it's an important issue. I think it needs to stay out there, and we need to make sure that people are talking about it, because when something big happens like COVID-19 and these lockdowns and that type of thing, it tends to take over, and it's taking over everything that's going on right now in the media. And it's really not, nobody's talking about it anymore. Like let's just as an example for parental rights, father's rights, if a pregnancy is a woman's right, it's her right to whether or not she wants to carry a baby to term, all of that. But at that point, where does a father, I wouldn't say
Sorry,
really responsibility.
you froze there.
Oh, did I? Sorry,
Yeah.
you froze a couple of times on me as well. Sorry about that. Is it all good now?
Yes, it's good now.
Okay, perfect. So, woman gets pregnant by man. Okay, so she decides, no, I'm not going to keep the baby.
Right.
Why? It's your child together. So why is it just her decision?
Right.
But when it comes to a vaccine, for instance, it's my body, my choice. Why is it any different for that?
Exactly. And what you've talked about is a very, very touchy subject.
Absolutely. Sure is.
When two people make a baby and it's willingly, then it should be both their decisions. Because
Absolutely.
honestly, as men, we can't be put at fault for not having that option of carrying a child. Now, if we were built that two people get together and they want to have a child, then they get to decide, should the man be carrying the child or should the woman be carrying the child? So if there was a choice, then that's fine. I can understand where they would say, okay, if the father wants a baby, then you take it.
Right.
But because only the woman can do that, and it's a touchy subject,
Yes.
who am I to say what you can do with your body? Because you're the one that's going to be carrying the child.
Yeah.
You're the one that's going to go through all the hard times of carrying that child, having to worry about keeping your body clean for that child, feeding yourself properly.
Right.
So that's a very touchy subject. Now, if it was in a sense of where rape happened, then yes, absolutely, that man should not have any choice of it because you violated that person. You forced yourself onto that person. So it should be. But it's very touchy that if it's two willing partners, then why would one want to destroy it for the other if the other is willing to take that responsibility?
Exactly.
But again, he's not the one that has to go through all what's involved in giving birth.
And, the same can be said for the vaccine. We don't really know how it's going to affect you. We don't really know how it's going to affect me, that type of thing. So unfortunately, you can't say, oh, well, you should get the vaccine. You should get the vaccine. You should get the vaccine. It's my body. It's my choice. And why is that any different when it comes to any decision? So I want to definitely keep that in people's minds. And if, our next show, maybe we can talk about that. Maybe we can make that connection a little bit. Hopefully on a Saturday, I have somebody who would like to join us, but unfortunately, he's not available on Fridays or Wednesdays. So we'll have to bear that in mind when scheduling our next date. But we're going to certainly talk a lot more about this subject on this show. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I have some stuff I have to do, and I'm sure you do as well. So
yes. Thanks very much for having me. And yes, we'll definitely be talking about this. And hopefully people have enough respect to know that if my opinion is different than yours, doesn't make me right, doesn't make you wrong.
That's
we
right.
should be respectful to be able to have a proper discussion. And one last thing, when we talk about wear a mask, save a life, so I'm wearing a mask to save your life, but then I'm restricting myself because that mask is holding all my germs in and going to infect me even more. So hopefully people will have respect for each other and, let's agree to disagree.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Well, you have a great night and we will talk soon.
Sounds good. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.